All right. Good afternoon. Good morning, if that's more applicable. We are going to dive in to video and CTV advertising for franchise brands without breaking the bank. I think oftentimes people think of video and connected TV advertising or linear TV advertising as inherently expensive, possibly too expensive. And there are a lot of ways to deliver the impact of video with advertising at very targeted audiences and have a huge impact for your franchise brand and locations without breaking the bank. And that's what we're going to dive into today. If you don't know us, I'm Jason Lynch, Director of Demand Gen here at Netsertive. This is Maddie Park, Director of Marketing for all things franchise awesomeness. Anything else you want to say, Maddie? Plug your podcast, do the art of franchise marketing.
Yeah, I have a podcast, The Art of Franchise Marketing, so check that out. I'm officially sick of Jason, and I'm also a multi-unit franchise owner, and I worked for quite a while as the Director of Franchise Marketing at an umbrella brand, so have been in pretty much everyone's shoes possible here. So excited to talk to you guys about this. I have my own headaches and experiences that I'm sure you guys can relate to. So without further ado, we'll get started.
Yeah, we're going to dive in, and we definitely will be sharing out the deck and recording after this. And please feel free to chime in with any questions as we go. And thanks to those of you who submitted questions ahead of time. We will be getting to those as well. Maddie, how about tell us about Netsertive? What do we do?
Yeah, so our shameless pitch right in the beginning, we are a digital marketing partner for franchise and multi-location brands. We're actually the #1 marketing provider for a lot of national brands, mostly in the auto space are probably the biggest clients we have. We are partners with IFA. We've got all of the Facebook, the Google, every type of digital marketing partner you could possibly want. And what really makes us different is not only our team, but we've built a proprietary software that was specifically designed for franchise and multi-locations. The digital marketing strategies are able to be implemented and localized and optimized, ongoing, automated. Well, that leaves all the time for our awesome team to be on call for your franchisees, your corporate staff, however you're comfortable with the support being structured. So that's really exciting. And a couple of the numbers that we always like to show off is that we've actually managed over $1 billion in ad spend, and last year brought in about 750,000 local leads for our franchise clients. So the software works, and we're excited to keep expanding into this franchise vertical.
Awesome. Thanks, Maddie. Today, we're really going to dive into video and CTV advertising for your franchise brand. And I'm excited about this because I think we pulled together great content, and I definitely believe that you are actually going to understand connected TV and video advertising and some of the parameters around how that gets executed and measured. But we want to start first with a poll. So we're going to launch a poll here, and hopefully that works. If you can see the poll on Zoom, you can answer this question. So video channels of interest. Which video ad channels are of interest to you in 2022? YouTube advertising, connected TV advertising, Facebook and Instagram video, traditional TV advertising, or TikTok advertising. I know TikTok was the #1 downloaded app last year, and people are starting to see new ways of using that for their business. So if we look at, I'll leave this open for a bit longer. Numbers are still coming in here. Definitely looks like YouTube, Facebook and Instagram video. Traditional TVs looking like the lowest. I'll share the results here shortly. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hit end poll. Thank you so much to those of you who can share the results. You all should be able to see the results, but the biggest 100% said YouTube advertising. Almost 94% said Facebook and Instagram. 61% connected TV. Only 17% said traditional, and actually 56% said TikTok advertising, which is cool. So I'm gonna stop sharing that. But I think if you look at YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, that it definitely makes sense that you're interested in those channels because they fit really well into a integrated marketing strategy. And we're going to get into today looking at video ad strategy for franchise networks, because it's interesting, right? There are unique dynamics in a franchise brand of the national brand, localization. How do you work to get the most out of your budget in order to not only build your brand, but also drive local consumer marketing, employer marketing, and brand dev as well. Planning and executing video campaigns, and what does success look like? So Maddie, why don't you take first few slides here?
Yeah, so what do we want from video advertising? I think it's come a long way where traditionally we think of TV when franchisees are like, oh, I want to be on TV. Why aren't we using our NAF for that? And while there is something to be said for video is like just saying, oh, just do the marketing. There's so many different aspects. There's so many different, buys and spends and localization and geo-targeting. So what do we really want? When it comes down to it, you want that national awareness for your franchise. That is why people join a franchise. They want to continue utilizing and building the power of your big brand. However, what they also want on top of that is to recognize it in their local regions, both not only in awareness, but specifically in, the revenue. They want calls coming in when those commercials are going out. And then, other than that, it's like I said, a lot of the brand building power for stuff that you can then put into your funnel later on in marketing, you reutilizing that video, if you will. So that's what franchisors and franchisees want. If they are able to achieve this and within budget, they are then going to increase their franchisee satisfaction, and you're going to start seeing a lot more stuff grow from that. So yes, the power of video is very strong, but it's how you utilize it that's really going to be what makes an impact. Because if I take a video on my iPhone and I don't, tilt the camera the right way, or, there's a lot of background noise, that could actually be more harmful to your brand than not doing video at all. So we're kind of discuss, not only the creative aspects of it, but making sure you're putting out what you want at the right places so that you're able to capture, and then you can look back and be like, okay, now I can start moving my video spends around. This is what worked, this is what didn't, instead of just looking at your budget and saying, well, I tried video and it was trash, it didn't work.
Yeah, and I think video is a great channel to invest in, especially thinking about forming emotional connections with your consumers or your targets, because I mean, few people have ever gotten goosebumps from a display ad or cried at a search ad being so beautiful, but video can really form these emotional connections with people, right? And really build really deep brand impressions. And as you can see, I mean, people they use video to research. There's this interplay between doing research and watching YouTube videos. That's, it's a very important part of the product journey as far as people researching and wanting to understand more about your products and services. It's still underutilized though for franchise marketers. A very small number of franchises are really doubling down on video.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell them why.
Tell us why, Maddie.
My CEO used to every 6 to 8 months be like, Maddie, we need to run video, go. So then you have to do what's our budget? Well, I don't know, just get me prices. So you're like, all right, well, this is about to waste a whole bunch of time. So then you have to call direct to platform, which means I'm calling Hulu, I'm calling YouTube, I'm calling Roku, I'm calling the regular cable, whatever stations. And then having to put together, a complex grid of pricing, all the typical media buying stuff, times of day, cost per impression, also what it's going to cost on the creative end. And what it came down to is that while we wanted to utilize video and we had the national fund to do it, the spend and the opportunities weren't aligning, and that it was either way too expensive and just going to blow through everything without a direct to franchisee ROI, meaning they could get calls, they could not, because it's a blanket not geo-targeted, or we're going to get real specific with geo-targeting. And then we came across the instance of, okay, if we're geo-targeting and it's just going to be in the Texas region or even, the eastern coast, then are we using the national ad fund, or should we pull together marketing spend from different franchisees? And it's getting complex and there's different spends, and then the creative. And when it came down to it, it was always, why are we going to do this when we can't guarantee results? Same thing with radio. And the problem always was, when you're seeing something on TV, when you're hearing something on the radio, there is not a direct call to action. You're asking the consumer to remember. Now, the only thing with TV is that nowadays most people are using their phones while they're also watching TV. So you're hoping that they type in your URL, but there's no direct click to call. You're not capturing anything but your spend, pretty much. And it's very hard to delegate back to, was this from our TV? Did we, can I correlate this spike in leads to the TV? Maybe, but there's no real proof there. Mm-hmm. So that's what it came down to. And we decided, okay, instead of spending the 40, 50, 60K on something we may be able to attribute back, why don't we just push that into a different spend, like SEO, where we know we're going to get results that we can track. So that's what happened, or, my experience there. And then I got sick of the agency upsells. And then even if you get all through that, then you're like, okay, creative. The problem is if you're going to run a national ad, it needs to be of national quality. Yes, I know iPhones can shoot some really great stuff, but at the end of the day, you're probably going to want a professional team to do that. Now, if you're on the Fran Dev side and trying to run a national campaign for Fran Dev, it is very difficult to get a franchise concept in 30 seconds. Okay, so you're usually on the minute there, because not only do you have to explain your brand, you have to explain that it's not the service or the product, you are buying the business itself. And then in terms of the franchisees, while that's an easier creative sell, that's still an upfront cost that you're fronting. If you choose to use videos you already have, then you're dealing with the cutting and splicing and, is the creative up to par of your spend? So all of that said, I'm sure many of you are feeling the same thing. That's what I was up against. And then learning about what you can do now with CTV and video. I wish I had that even a year ago doing this, because it cuts down on all of that expensive media buying, excuse me, my language, bullshit. And it gives you the ability to not only completely control your budget, but attribute things back to your video specifically. So then not only can you, monitor your video, you're also able to geo-target still using the NAP. And on top of that, you're spending more of your focus on the creative and less on the complexities of the media buying.
Yeah,
so that's what we will explain. And that's my TED Talk.
Why don't you, we can go to this, because there's such a variety of budgets when it does come to creative. And that were some of the questions that people submitted when they registered for the webinar were around, how do you make a video even, right? What can you expect? How much does it cost? What's the best kind?
Yeah, so there are the 4 different aspects here. You got the selfie video that you're taking on your iPhone. You have an animation, voiceover, the freelancer, local production, and the premium production. While I think that there are elements of the selfie videos that can be beneficial in terms of, showing real people in the real world, I am a huge advocate of making sure that your production is done and looks professionally done, especially if it's coming from the franchisor who's paying through the National Ad Fund. And my reason why is because franchise brands, while yes, our franchisees are small business owners, franchise brands are always going to be attributed to the McDonald's, the Kohl's, the Targets. Like, that's some big money there. If you're going to push a video out that's a little more homegrown, it's not going to shed a good light on the franchise. I don't like, I know people will argue with me here, but especially if it's one of the first or second or third touches from a customer, they're only gathering that very quickly. And with video, it's while they're also trying to watch or do something else. So you want to make sure that every second you have their attention, it's going to shine the best light on the brand. And that's not always great for like the free and selfie videos. Yes, that might be more fine for a franchisee, maybe for, newsfeed posts, for TikToks, for Instagram stories, somewhere where someone expects to see something kind of faster and on the fly. But if you're going to run a television ad, you definitely want to be looking at a local production company. Premium production companies, obviously that's the goal, but those are probably, big budgets, big brands. You can get something just as great from a local production or freelancer in your area. And then I like to keep animation and voiceover purely for the digital social media kind of realm. I think that they're a fun, kind of quirky way to get points or brands or tips or tricks across for engagement. But again, when you are trying to either have someone buy their net worth in your business brand, or trying to get someone to, either whether it's a service coming into your home, trusting people with your pets, whatever it may be, you're going to want to have a little bit more polish on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. You want to build trust and get your brand impression across. We're going to launch another poll here. The second poll, this is on blockers. So we've talked a lot about some of the challenges. We're going to get into how you overcome those challenges, but would love to just launch that here. So what is your biggest barrier to video advertising? Again, video can seem like this big hill to climb, but you feel held back by video production, by localizing that video, by not enough budget to make an impact. It's not measurable enough.
I think the problem is even if you have a creative video, the franchisees all want a copy of it with their own URL and phone number, and having that outsourced is expensive or just time consuming for your internal team.
Yeah, and then you can edit.
Right.
You want to make a creative edit, and now you have to make 75 versions of the video.
Right. And then if you're running one big campaign, usually the direct to platform people are like, oh, no, you give me one version and that's going to be it. So you end up having to use a call center or, the generic number, which also has an effect in their local market because, as we know, a lot of people want to call local numbers, not 1-800 numbers.
Yep. So we have the results here. I'm going to end the poll and share the results. So the biggest barrier, according to our attendees today, is just not enough budget to make an impact. Video production is the second, localizing video, and not measurable enough is the last one, which is interesting because a lot of people talk about just wanting to measure the value of video. And we'll talk a bit about how we do that. But it's good to see that is not a big blocker for people. I think that point about not enough budget to make an impact is a great one. But I think if you can get a video strategy, it's possible to map out the impact of your video and look at the audience, the frequency, how many times you're going to get your video in front of these people on different channels, and look at just a full funnel of how is that going to drive traffic to your website or to your local stores. And now with even Connectedtv video, you can measure store visits. And so it starts to become much more justifiable to add budget to video because you can really see the impact. We're going to dive in. Thanks for participating in that poll. We're gonna dive into YouTube advertising a bit, just as a real specific channel. That was the top channel that people are planning on engaging with in 2022. Localized video ads on YouTube, it allows you to have a brand video with a localized overlay to run. Okay, and then there's also a companion banner. Just wanted to kind of define the terms up front of what do we mean by a YouTube ad. And you know, these ads are great primarily because they are able to be integrated into a broader digital campaign. And the thing that I think is most exciting about YouTube video targeting is you can use custom audiences and target your video to relevant audiences that have been, you can reach people that have actively been researching your product or service on Google, and you can actually serve video ads to those people based on their search history, even if they've never been to your website before. You can build custom audiences with your own data, right? If you have a database of people, you can create a list of people to target. You know, it just gets very exciting when you think about who is your target persona and how are you targeting them online with these videos. And so you can also target affinity audiences, users based on what they're passionate about and their habits and interests. In-market audiences based on the recent purchase intent. So there's a lot of in-market audiences, if you know, yeah, as we're all in different audiences based on our search history already. And so you can target people that are interested in your product or service, and then remarketing users that have interacted with your business, they've been to your website. And that's really where you see how YouTube plays a role in that customer journey, because YouTube really amplifies search and it fits into a multi-channel integrated campaign, right? And that sounds like a buzzword, but it's actually not. That's what we do at Netcertive, where we have target audiences and people end up in these different custom audiences and retargeting audiences. And then as they interact with your website, with different pages on your website, with different product pages, as they watch videos, they're moving through the funnel, sometimes anonymously, and then they convert into a lead, they call you, and that's how we push people down the funnel. So with YouTube, advertisers that run YouTube video ads, they have an 8% higher search conversion volume. They have a 3% higher search conversion rate and a 4% less cost per acquisition. So having video ads running on YouTube, people are seeing it on YouTube, they're coming back to search, and it's just, there's a lift, there's that YouTube lift there. And when you understand more how YouTube and Connectedtv, they work best in this kind of multi-channel campaign. So I think that's a big takeaway, would be to not just think of what's our video strategy, but how is our video strategy integrated into a broader multi-channel campaign across search, display, video, YouTube, retargeting, because it works. You know, you have localized search ads, right? Someone searches for bathroom remodeling near me, and then they click on that. Now they're retargeted with social, video, display ads, and then they search again, and we do those remarketing lists where we're going to pay more for an ad to be served to someone who searched before and been on your website. So that gets bumped up in the bid, and then they're going to have display ads following them around. And so when you see how they're seeing your brand everywhere, especially for a lot of franchise networks, they have a longer path to purchase. And so they're doing research, they're wanting to understand what their options are, who their best local provider might be. So to be able to nurture those people through a multi-channel campaign and then connect with them emotionally through YouTube video is where we see the best results.
And
Anything
I
else
would
to
say,
add on
yeah,
YouTube?
I would say the psychology behind this marketing, and it hasn't changed in a long time. Maybe it's a little different now, but people typically need between 5 and 7 hits on something to say yes before they're saying yes to something. So a lot of times it's me trying to convince franchisees, can you please post on your Facebook? Can you please run $1 a day ad? That way they're seeing you even when you're not posting. And this is a great way to kind of circumvent all that physical having to actually post, getting people out there putting yard signs on, is that you need to be where people are. And this is exactly where people are, and it's automated for you. Personally, I don't bookmark anything anymore. I don't even know how to bookmark on Chrome. Like, I definitely don't on my iPhone. Half the time I see something, I'm like, don't worry, it's gonna show up on my Instagram feed and I'll buy it later when it's 10 p.m. and I'm bored. That's that sort of thing. So while I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to bug people, I don't want to spend the money to retarget, you have to be in front of those people. And if you're not retargeting, then you're just spending more on your SEO. If you're not doing video, if you're not doing display ads, then you need to be doubling up on your social spend. So you're spending somewhere to get that conversion, which is why it correlates to a higher conversion rate when you're on YouTube. That's where people are. That's where they're seeing you, and you're automatically getting more of those touches through that way.
Yeah, and we see that in-market display for a lot of our franchise brands. In-market display ads can be one of the best performing as far as the last click before conversion. So the retargeting, nurturing people is definitely that's what you want to be doing on YouTube. We're going to dive into Connected TV, which
Jason,
is,
I've been caught on YouTube sometimes where like I click an ad by accident when I'm trying to skip it, and then it goes to the web page and I'm like, shit, well, it already took me off the web page. I might as well do my research now. So it's even working for lazy people like me.
that accidental customer.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing. So Connected TV, there's a lot of people have questions around exactly what is CTV, and it's that programmatic digital advertising precision. So it's really targeting audiences based on very precise demographics and behaviors, meets premium content TV advertising. Because what brands love, they love those big popcorn moments where it's someone's watching a piece of content on a large large 75-inch TV in their living room, and they're not going to skip it because they'd have to bounce out of the program in order to do that. And so we have smart TVs and attached devices. Most homes now have them. And a smart TV is just a TV connected to the internet. And it's a Connected TV is a subset of OTT, or over the top media, which includes apps and services. So basically all video that's not delivered through a cable box is called OTT. And there's no subscriptions necessarily like traditional TV or pay TV services. And so when you think of CTV, you can think of like Roku or Amazon Fire, Chromecast, and some of the shows that are viewed on those. And the content is more premium, and typically the ads are more premium as well. And again, you think about CTV versus YouTube. CTV is much more focused on those big screen television moments. So it is more of a premium play. The recommended starting monthly budget is higher. It is a more expensive CPM, but also it's much more targeted than, and ultimately more impactful than a linear traditional TV ad. And when you're serving an ad, you're serving it on CTV, the content they're consuming is a premium piece of content. With sports, it's a video, it's a TV show. Whereas on YouTube, it's oftentimes user-generated content. You don't necessarily know where your video is going to show up on YouTube, even though you can make certain decisions around where you limit that content. CTV is definitely more of a premium service. And so, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so think of traditional TV, just throw it out. You know, you're not spending a $40,000 minimum for regular TV. We like to joke in my house that I'm like, oh, I don't have cable, but don't worry, I'm paying $2,000 in subscription services to every known, you know, whatever streaming service. But so if you're thinking of TV now, I want you to think your traditional CTV or TV advertising is that CTV. Okay, so it's no longer 40,000 minimum, it's 3,500 a month. And that's where you're thinking of, you know, I am not paying $50 a month for premium Hulu. I make my husband sit through the TV show, the ads and stuff, because I'm like, I'd rather pay $7 than 50. So that's where you're being seen. Those sort of things, the commercials on the Amazon video, stuff like that. So that's going to be more your traditional. That's where people are, and then the YouTube is the one step down from there.
Yeah, did have a question. Jonathan asked, how does the feature to skip ads after 5 seconds affect the cost of ads on YouTube? And they don't actually, you don't pay for people who skip your ads. So someone has to watch the whole video or 30 seconds of it if it's longer, in order for that to actually be something you pay for. And then how geo-targeted can you get with CTV? You can get extremely geo-targeted. So we'll talk more about that as well, was another question that he asked. So yeah, there's all kinds of really interesting targeting with CTV. And I think it's so popular because of the targeting and because of the ability to know, hey, someone watched this Connectedtv ad and then they came to my store location, right? And hey, that cost me $16.50. And I know that, and I can do the math and figure out how this is, you know, coming back to, you know, as an ROI. And this is a, you know, an example of an ad with video overlays. I don't know, Maddie, do you want to run through some of the features of CTV that people can use?
Yeah, so this is one of them, which is, you know, an instant modification. So you're able to localize the area you're in, a URL, a phone number, if you have specific promos, and then again, you can map the ad viewers based on, you know, geo-targeting, website visitors, basically anything and everything you can do it with CTV. But this is a good example of a video overlay. Now, what's exciting for us specifically is that not only, you know, our franchises now given this opportunity and starting to be informed about it, but I would look at this as a franchisor and be like, that's great, you can localize it. I'm not localizing it for 300 locations. That sounds like really expensive. With NetSertive's technology, it does it for you. So you're running one campaign, you're saying, here's my creative, here's the overlay, here's my locations, go. And it all gets automated and sent out for you. So you're taking that huge manual lift and added expenses for creative editing out of it, which is why I was like, we need to do a video for franchises, because I wish I had this when I was there. But this is also a great way. You're running the national campaigns, and then your franchisees are getting, you know, all their happy butterfly feelings because they're like, look, I'm on TV and it's my location. My franchisor loves us. So it's kind of the best of both worlds there.
Yeah, when we talk about not breaking the bank, definitely is a huge savings on creative to be able to not only have these overlays, but also to be able to split test videos, and have, you know, video end cards is another one.
Yeah, so one of those kind of like ending on a screen, you can customize it so that it's each location. Like I said, there's flexible designs. Any URL you want to put tracking phone numbers in. While there's even more tracking when it comes to CTV, you can even double down on that, like I said, with unique URLs or unique phone numbers.
And Kyle's actually asking a question here. This overlay is CTV, YouTube, or both? And it's actually both. So what NetSertive really does well is localize ads. So search, display, social, video. It's aligning the national brand assets with the localized creative or location information. So doing that at scale is, you know, what we do really well. And so being able to take really a spreadsheet of all the location information and dynamically merge that in with creative and create overlays right into YouTube videos or CTV videos is what we're talking about.
And you can optimize stuff on the fly too. If for whatever reason certain regions are down, there was a different promo you wanted to change, that can all be done on the fly, which I think is really important to note as well, because we all know we can't keep franchisees happy longer than 5 minutes.
It's yeah. So video scans are another feature. It's similar to an overlay, but it's just allowing more localized branding based on what a location is really interested in pushing. QR codes is another thing. If anyone saw the Coinbase Super Bowl ad, there's a featured a QR code where people thought they'd go ahead and scan that, get some free cryptocurrency. I think the QR codes really found relevance in the pandemic with menus and sort of a hands-free way of people finding information.
Biggest comeback kid of the century.
Yeah.
QR code.
I was very anti QR codes for many years, but now I see they're definitely easy. People know what they are, and I think it's a great way to obviously measure instant feedback on an ad if someone's going to scan your QR code on something. And
I mean, people make fun of that commercial, but like people are still talking about it. It worked.
I know.
Zero on creative.
Yeah, probably best commercial as far as impact and word of mouth for sure.
I did. I was following it around the screen with my camera. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, shh. I work in marketing.
The day parting is another cool feature where you can actually serve a different ad on Connected TV. You're serving a different ad depending on the time of day to make it more relevant to the viewer. And then getting into split testing, what is going to work better? Is there one call to action? You can test images, video, messaging, and optimize the creative. So again, rather than thinking that there's this huge upfront final cut creative, you can think of it more like, here's the table has been set, but now we're going to change a lot of the meat out as we go and see how we can optimize it and improve performance.
Think of it as like a video SEO ads, always, crucial, and you can edit them, but high performing as well.
Yep. So what I think is really interesting about Connected TV too is that rather than just talking about buying a certain time slot or channel or geo with linear TV, with Connected TV you can really customize audiences. And so there's household targeting, right, where unlike most devices, TVs are commonly shared across households. So if you have a big TV in the family room, if one member of the household fits the audience profile, the whole household is eligible to receive ads. And you can really, we recommend splitting the targeting up between first party, third party, lookalike, retargeting. So if you have your lists that you're uploading, or you have people that have been on your website, you can actually retarget them on Connected TV if they are in market of watching a show that is relevant. Third party demographics, behavioral, lookalike models. So this is what I know works, and then we can find people that look like your target audience. So people who have gone to these websites and gone, fit certain demographic molds. And when you look into these third-party audiences, they're highly customizable. And again, you start to have a great pitch for why you can justify spending more money on a Connected TV buy, because it's so customizable. And because the ads are more targeted, and then you can measure the impact of them, you can, say, we didn't have wasted ad spend. We know what happened. We had X number of people come to the store, X number of people went to the website. And so with location-based audiences, you can look at, for example, devices that have they visited a luxury car dealership in the last 60 days, or they've shopped at Whole Foods, or they visited a Bass Pro Shop. They've gone to a certain website, or they have, they're newlyweds, or they have purchase activity. So you can get so targeted and buy into these audiences. Go ahead, Maddie.
I was just saying, we know Jason shops at Whole Foods
I
primarily because he used the company card to buy his groceries by accident. Don't worry about that. But I was just gonna throw in there that while this may be overwhelming and you're like, this is so granular, like I don't need this. Think of TikTok. Now, if TikTok is in your primary, ignore me. But if it's not, which mostly it's not in the franchise services realm, you usually don't spend money advertising on TikTok because I'm like, I own a home cleaning franchise. So I'm like, I am pretty sure 16, 17, 18-year-olds are not like, oh, where can I get a home cleaner? So if you're advertising and you're just like, oh, I hope maybe their parent sees it, or I hope maybe, there's an older person on here. It's the same thing with CTV where you're like, oh, well, I hope that there's a qualified person in the household. Really, it's my 4-year-old watching Bubble Guppies on repeat. So you don't want to be spending your money on the Bubble Guppies, which is why the separation of audience parties, third-party audiences and lookalikes and all that is so important because, like Jason said, you're not wasting that ad spend hoping that that person is qualified or that it's going to get to a qualified person. That as much of your money as possible is going to that target person.
Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Love
So we'll have a mix when we're doing targeting of third-party audiences, lookalike, retargeting, and it's the goal is really relevance without being too narrowly defined. So looking at how do we measure success? This is a big one. How do we measure success? With YouTube reporting, it's pretty straightforward. I think the benefit of YouTube is probably why you're also interested in it, is because it's really just like any other ad type. And because it's integrated with Google, it's really easy to, create a funnel and show how a YouTube video is fitting into the performance of your campaign. So, we can look down at a funnel and see the conversions and success coming from a YouTube campaign where we're looking at the clicks and so I saw a thing with CTV. Someone asked if clicks are a measure on CTV, and the answer is not directly because people don't click on their TVs. But they will click.
Unless you're my toddler and you get the ladder and you are clicking.
Yeah. But yeah, they do now with CTV, they do scan QR codes, or they do go to a website and they visit the website after viewing your ad. So, but definitely with YouTube, we like to look at the return on ad spend and the ROI because you should view YouTube as an extremely measurable channel for video. For CTV, we're looking at total views and completed views. CTV has something like a 97-98% completion rate because people don't skip ads. You can't skip the ads, and they're not going to click away from the program completely to just stop watching it.
My husband tries to beat the system and then gets so mad at the ads that we start a fight because then he just picks a different movie that doesn't have an ad, and then I can't watch the movie. And it's people talk about, oh, kids and money are the biggest source of argument. No, CTV ads in my household are the biggest source of arguments.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at how many people do watch these ads all the way through, and then what happens after is really fascinating because we'll actually have, even after a campaign ends, we'll still be getting new conversions on the ad view for months after a campaign. So what happens is, you have online conversions where you actually are able to measure through website traffic and even website conversion. So a view through website visit is how many people went to your website that also received a CTV ad impression. And as they go and look at the website, you can look at a thank you page or a location page and start to count those as conversions. And even, form submit, sometimes it's not always going to a thank you page. So maybe there's a specific button, and this CTV campaign becomes much more like a digital ad campaign where you can define your conversions, define your successes, and understand what your conversions are based on someone having viewed an ad and gone to your website. And then the really interesting thing is offline conversions. So it's, we have a partner that we use that allows us to actually see not only website traffic, but also in-store traffic from CTV ads. So we had, there was a retailer that ran a CTV ad, and they had something like 300 store visits during the campaign at a cost of $16.50 per visit. And that's measured because they can actually know, based on the device, geo-tracking the device and having been served the ad, and being able to integrate that behind the scenes basically, and know, well, we have attribution in place to understand that user behavior. So it's very interesting. And that's where it starts to, just become very trackable and very measurable, still very much an awareness channel, but it's exciting to think about how all of these, different conversions and attribution models are allowing us to see what's working and how it's driving business for franchise locations. So go
Jason,
ahead.
you see the question from Kyle down below? The CTV recommended budget, is that per market or total spend?
It really is per market. If you're going to look at it really depends on the location. And Kyle would love to have you reach out and we can actually give you a custom budget. But that's where you do need to spend money in order to have your ad served. So
yeah, well, and I think it makes a difference where, like, depends if your franchise is protected territories, because if there's one and then the next one is hundreds of zip codes away, yeah, per market. If you have a model like Dunkin' Donuts where there's two same owner right across the street, then obviously it's per that sort of market. So it really depends kind of on the radius and locations. But yeah, we can definitely give you a custom budget no matter what.
Yep. So we've looked at these, what's that ad strategy? How can we create videos, overcome the friction of sometimes what we experience in franchise marketing, planning and executing campaigns, experiencing success. Wanted to jump into some Q&A, and please add any other questions to the Q&A window. But Maddie, the Fran Dev expert on the team, how can video be used to get new franchise business? I think that was a question someone asked when they registered.
Yeah, OnlyFans. Just kidding. You definitely can use video for franchise development. Like I said, it's a little more tricky because you're running up against the clock in terms of conveying not only your service, especially because you have to just assume people have no idea who you are. So conveying the service you provide and also the business opportunity. The biggest thing I can say is if you throw out the 30, 40, 60, 45 second, 60 video constraints or whatever, your time, the time you're looking at, the biggest thing you want to do is go the emotional route, because people for Fran Dev are not going to buy a franchise by looking at one commercial, where like I could see a commercial for home service and be like, yeah, sounds good to me. My house is a mess. I'm not like, oops, sounds good to me. Here's $1 million. So I think the biggest strategy there is, one, I think you should do it assuming that you are licensed in all 50 states, or you have a big chunk of the United States that you're licensed in. Keep it very broad, because as everyone knows, franchise development is like a kiddie pool compared to the consumer. So you want to keep it as broad as possible, keeping in mind that people know other people, people are sharing, people move, people travel. And then on top of that, when it comes to the creative, you definitely want to get something that's like day in the life. Okay. You don't need to sell your brand, you need to sell the lifestyle that they would have. So whether that's an interview with a franchisee, or kind of showing something day in the life, that's the avenue you want to go with. And then having your call to action be something directly to your franchising website where they're going to get another feel and have more information there. I've tried it many different ways with consumer to franchise, trying to do both. And I've always seen the best results coming from, oh, that could be me. I didn't have to explain, because I worked at MadePro, I didn't have to explain, here's what MadePro does, or, FlyFo. No one knows what FlyFo is, mosquito and tick control. Instead of going heavily into what makes us such a great brand and business, we went with what makes it a great business to own. Tell me why I should buy this. And when someone sees that, then they're like, oh, all right, that guy's making it to his kid's soccer games. That person does not work any day after 2 p.m. That's what's going to get them going to your website, and then let the rest of your marketing collateral and your salespeople speak to the brand itself.
Yeah, that's great. We got a question from Jonathan here about if it's $3,500 per market, is that a monthly budget? How long and how frequently will the ads be played? So I think the best way I can answer this is pulling up some client reporting here. So there was one location, and this is let me see. So there's a campaign flight. This is actually 2022, January 1st and 31st, 2022. They spent $2,221. And they had a $32 CPM, and they had 71,000 views, 17,840 households reached with four count on the frequency, meaning those households saw the ad 4 times. So again, that's a very specific answer to your question, but it is very, we can drill down and definitely reach out, and we can talk more and create a funnel for you. But there's another client that had for the month, this was also for January 2022, had 63,000 views with an ad spend of $2,200 and 33,000 households reached. So again, it kind of comes down to, what does it look like for you? We still recommend that $3,500 budget, and the reason being is that it just allows us to be able to serve your ad.
But also serving your ad, so you can spend you can spend less than that and get a ton of views, and you could get some conversions. Net sort of like obsessed with hitting our targets, so that's why we recommend 3,500. So when you have a certain goal, whether it's cost per new client, cost per lead, clicks, new revenue in, that is our platform for, okay, we're going to show it to enough households that are going to convert. Okay, so the reason we're running this webinar is because you can run CTV and YouTube for very cheap and have it be effective. You cannot put $1,000 into traditional TV and have it be effective at all. So yes, you can do less. It's just depending on what those goals are and how many conversion people you're hoping to get. Conversions you're hoping to get.
Someone asked when they registered, what are the most effective, crucial ways to use video marketing on a limited budget? If we needed one great video, what should it be?
So same thing here. Always go the emotional route. I mean, think of Budweiser, their Super Bowl commercials. Year after year, it's a dog and a horse, and they're growing up together, and I will cry at it no matter what. Like you don't need to use, if you have one video, don't go into what makes your brand so great, what makes it so different, what, all these logos and different talking heads. No, get to the heart of what your franchise or your business does. Have someone that's relatable, that makes someone want to take the next step and search you. Okay, that is also why we're like, you got to follow up with the commercials here, because sure, you could run an informational ad that says everything you do, but at the end of the day, someone still has to search you. They still have to want to take that step and click. There's nothing more that's going to want to make people leave the platform they're on, watch the ad, than something that's emotionally triggering. So when it comes down to low budget, I have one video, what should it be? Find that heart of your business, find someone that is willing to tell it authentically, and go with it. And never be afraid to throw in a dog. People love dogs.
Yeah, I forgot what the statistic is, but if you put a dog on a landing page, it increases conversions by 30% or something. I think we already answered this question here around the types of videos that are working best. So I think with that, if no one else has any other questions, we'll just say thanks so much. If you want to reach out, there are our email addresses. Definitely we'll be following up with the replay, and we look forward to continuing these conversations with you all, and best of luck in your video adventures here in 2022.
We will be at the IFA if you guys want to meet us or hang out with us or watch Jason and I fight in person. And also, yeah, please reach out to us. We are not the salespeople. We are the marketing people. We love to talk marketing and numbers. So if you really just are like, I don't want to be sold, but I have a question, reach out to us. We got you. And thanks for joining us for a whole hour.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks a lot, Maddie. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.